Welcome to another episode of the Cinema 9 podcast. I am Michael Govier. I am the co-host along with Travis and Eric. We are here to talk about movies, and we are really looking forward to this experience. This is our 55th episode, by the way. Last week, we did a fun little jaunt called You Are Next. If you missed that one, it's available on this YouTube channel, and you can watch all of our old episodes on the YouTube channel, Cinema 9 Pod, or you can listen to them in podcast form on your favorite podcast platform. Travis Roy, what's the word?
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'd like to come in correct right off the bat because I realized after last episode I'd said something about like having a Xbox One like fall into my lap. I didn't care about it, and you're like, "Oh, that's very spoiled of you," basically. And that's because I don't know the difference between the systems. Which one's older than that? Whatever's older than that, that's what fell into my lap that I didn't care
360.
about. Yeah, it may have even been whatever was before that. It wasn't
Xbox.
Yeah,
It
wasn't whatever was like $500 that people were killing each other for last Christmas. It definitely was not that shit. It was the kind of shit that just kind of rots in a closet somewhere, then it rotted in my closet somewhere. So I wanted to set the record straight on that. Not some sort of I'm not sitting around with a silver spoon up my ass, just hanging out with Xbox Ones, all over the place.
You're not a dilettante?
Not to judge people that have them, but I mean, if I did have it, I would value it, is all I'm saying.
Yay! Well, that's fantastic, man. Thanks for the clarification. I know a lot of people are on pins and needles, and now we can move forward.
It's important. The people need to know.
They do. The people got to know the truth. Because he was a communist. Kevin Bacon is pissed. Remember Kevin Bacon and JFK, one of Travis's favorite movies.
Man.
People got to know. People got to know why he was killed.
Let's not talk Oliver Stone already. How you doing, Eric? How's Griffith Park?
How'd you like to be the guy that had to apply that gold makeup on fucking Tommy Lee Jones?
Oh, his whole body.
Oh, man.
Oh, you know what, by the way, Eric? Last night I was watching I just stumbled upon the best of the 90s where Ebert and Martin Scorsese sat in for the dearly departed Gene Siskel. And JFK was one of... I was just thinking about Travis and how pissed he would be because JFK was one of Ebert's 10 best of the 90s. Not just that year, the 90s overall.
It's a cast like that. I mean, good God.
I mean, the movie was. I'm not going to sit here on this. I'm not going to talk about it again. I'm not going to sit here and talk about it again. Fuck it. I'm not doing it again. I'm not falling for that bait.
Oh. Well, Eric, how are you? Okay, buddy? How's it out there? Society treating you well?
Well, I could describe society only as a world of human records.
Yeah. World of new Barackets.
We were singing Sponge before the show started, so
Sponge.
I did not know a world of human wreckage is what that lyric is. I learned that 2 years ago. So. Unbelievable.
Some emo shit right there.
Yeah, it's a good band. That's a classic local Detroit band that makes good. They don't get enough respect. Everybody talks about Motown or Eminem or
I mean, let's be honest. Like Motown versus the one hit wonder of Sponge.
Everyone talks about Motown. Sponge.
Rotting Pinata was a nice follow up. Come on.
That was the album that song was on.
Oh man.
Plowed is on Rotting Pinata.
Oh, I thought there was 16 Candles where the fuck the first one's called.
Oh, maybe I'm confused. They had more than one album. Yeah, maybe I'm confused.
Yo, you're right. It was called Rotting Pinata. I was thinking of Wax Ecstatic. Pardon me. Wax Ecstatic was the follow-up. That's automatic. That song sucked. Yeah, that was not a good follow-up at all. That was the joke. So you're right.
The 90s.
I see through you. I see through you. We're gonna do it again. Let's just do it. Gonna do it again.
Love the stereo MCs. That's definitely a 90s one-hit wonder. But
yeah, let's just do it.
Next, rest in peace.
Speaking of one-hit wonders, let's talk about the Oscars. The Oscars are coming up this Sunday, and nobody loves the Oscars more than you two guys. Very passionate Oscar fans. It's okay, and that's cool. But we thought we would go over some of the categories quickly with our own views and opinions. Travis, let's start with you. How would you like to lead this off here? Give me a category and give me some thoughts.
Well, let's go ahead and leap right into it with Best Picture, man. I mean, let's just let's get that out of the way. I have at this point seen, I think, all of the Best Picture nominations. Have you guys?
I have not.
So just to remind folks listening, that is The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. These are the ones that have been nominated to win. And for my money, if of these, I mean, do you guys? I mean, like, I have what I think is going to win, which I think it's going to be Nomadland that's going to win.
Yeah, but give what you want to win.
I wish that Swallow had been nominated and would win.
Yeah!
I'm sticking to it. Carlo Mirabello Davis's Swallow that I talked about last episode. That I think it's the best picture of the year. Not the best animated feature, not the best documentary, but I think that Swallow is the best movie I've seen from last year.
Wow. Okay.
That is powerful. Eric, do you have a prediction? And do you have a one that you want to throw in there that should have been nominated?
Should win Nomadland. Will win Nomadland for Best Picture, my friends.
All right.
Oh, wow. I really got to see that one. I want to see it.
It's on Hulu.
Hulu.
It's on Hulu.
Hulu.
I think I have
Hulu.
Yeah,
It's Hulu.
Is this Jewish?
No.
That's what
Is this Jewish?
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Welcome to Is This Jewish? The
I've never heard the word. I never heard the word Hulu before they used it, so I don't even know where that word comes from. I feel like they made it up.
I think they made it up.
Is this
they
Jewish?
did.
Sounds made up.
All right, so yeah, I think the one I haven't seen all of them. I saw Sound of Metal, which I loved a lot.
Oh man,
obviously,
so good.
And since I saw Sound of Metal and Trial of Chicago 7, those are the only two I've seen of all those. I'd rather.
That's all you've seen?
Yeah, I know. A lot of these I haven't seen.
See, Wank, Judas and the Black Messiah. You didn't see Promising Young Woman. You didn't see Midnight. Come on, Michael.
Most of the stuff is streaming for free in most places now too.
Oh shit!
A lot of it is.
Do a better job of that.
No, not like you have a movie podcast or anything.
No.
Father, I failed you. You know, I like to watch old videos about old movies, from the 80s. And I watched CinemaSins do Superman 3 the other day. That was awesome.
Okay.
But I got to say, I think I'll take Trial of Chicago 7 as a better overall movie than Sound of Metal. Even though I love some of the performances in Sound of Metal, I'm going to take the overall film by a nose. But I assume that Nomadland's going to win because you guys know better than I do. If I had to throw a curveball out there, I guess I don't have one for this past year. I thought it was a pretty bogus year for film. I really did. And I'm going to stand behind that. If something comes up, I'll change my mind. But right now, I'm going to go with the people who think they know best.
Well, I think Minari or The Father could sneak in. I think the Minari, The Father, and Nomadland are probably the biggest contenders in my opinion.
What were the okay? Real quickly with actor and actress. What you guys got predictions or somebody who should have been nominated, Travis?
Well, in the best actress category, I got to stick with Haley Bennett from Swallow again. I really wish that she'd been nominated for it. And I'm not really that familiar with her work outside of it. Outside of that movie, I've seen a couple of her movies, so I wouldn't ordinarily be all for a performance from someone that I was not that familiar with. But I've never seen a character that I so badly wanted to reach through the screen and hug. So I think that I'm going to stick to that. The other nominees, I'm looking it up. Eric, do you have someone that you are eyeing?
Actress in a leading role, Eric.
I did not see pieces of a woman. It looked way too depressing. I could not go there. And I never finished Billie Holiday because it was not good, and I turned it off. But I'm pulling for Frances McDormand. I loved Carey Mulligan and Promising Young Woman, but Frances McDormand is transcendent in that picture.
Okay.
Yeah. I haven't done Pieces of a Woman either. I don't think I'm going to be honest.
So heavy. And Shia LaBeouf can go fuck himself. Film.
Admitted dog killer Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, that was it. Last straw. That was it. Last straw.
He killed the dog for the movie?
For tax collector, he went around murdering stray dogs to get into character. He said he told. Well, that's what I mean. I think it's been back and forth, but it sounds. Yeah. He admitted it, right?
He pretty much admitted it.
He pretty much admitted it, and then went back and went, "Oh, people didn't like that," but he admitted it. Yeah. Anyways, I would say either Frances McDormand for Nomadland, but Viola Davis's transformation into Ma Rainey, I wouldn't mind seeing that win either. Both of those performances were really, really strong.
Damn.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I thought,
And you know,
Ma Rainey was. I don't think it was that great of a movie. Her performance was great, though.
That's how I stand too. I was not a huge fan of the movie, but her and Boseman's performances were both fantastic.
Yep, I agree.
Makeup Oscar could be in line, but I wasn't that big on even Viola Davis in it. What'd she like drink Coke and was like a bitch? I'm sorry, I didn't care for her in the movie.
She was a hardcore singer. She had a lot of attitude. She was your classic diva. Classic diva. So if you don't like divas, you're probably not gonna like her character. She was rude. It's true.
Best actor, you know, I really liked Minari. I dug it, the hell out of it. Stephen Wynn slipping in for best actor nomination. Why?
I'm inclined to agree with you. I didn't really feel like he was. I mean, he was good in it. He was good in it. The woman that played the grandma,
she needs to win.
I hope that she wins. I'm trying to look at her name. I have to have this in front of me, but I guess I don't have this in front of me. But yeah, I think that. Yeah, Young Yoon. I would like to see her win. You know, you and I, Eric, have been fans of Will Patton since the 90s. I wish he'd been nominated for a Best Supporting Actor. This is probably the best thing I've seen Will Patton do in a really, really long time.
Since Armageddon.
Prophecies.
Inventing the Habits.
I mean, he had a pretty strong run there around the area you're talking, Mike, and he just kind of fell off. But he was so good in this. It was like, oof. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll see how it all plays out Sunday night live. You guys got your popcorn ready? What are you gonna do? You sit down. You get a nice little tray of trash.
I haven't figured out my snacks yet. I have watched all the documentaries at this point, which I know I started this podcast talking about. Well, I didn't really watch documentaries, but I just finished The Mole Agent right before we started the show. And Eric, I'm inclined to agree with you. It's a little too cinematic.
Yeah.
Like it kind of feels. I mean, like it was good, but it felt like a movie in a way that made it, like almost like a reality television kind of thing. It just felt contrived. Yeah. But I would talk to you guys earlier in the week about Collective and how impressed I was by that. But like halfway through, it does like this hard turn into like partisan Romanian politics, and I don't know partisan like the Romanian party. So like it got really like, and I'm like, I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't really know exactly. Obviously there's like clear corruption taking place, but it gets like so partisan that I'm like, I don't really know that I can feel qualified to have an opinion on what I'm watching. But man, Crip Camp was fantastic. I'm still hoping my octopus teacher wins.
It's gonna win. Come on.
I think that Crip Camp is more likely to win.
Oh shit. All right. Well.
It was fantastic. I mean, Crip Camp was incredible. I wish kind of that they'd done a little bit better job marketing it, because like if I had understood the scope of this movie, have you seen it, Mike?
No, it just makes me think of Mike Kripke's basement from Terminator 3. Sorry. That's all they talk about in Terminator 3. Remember Mike Kripke's basement?
Mike Kripke's basement, yeah.
It's so stupid.
Sarah Brewster.
Well, it has fucking fuck all to do with that. But what it is about is, I mean, it's about civil rights. It's about disabled civil rights, which, not a topic that you really see very often. And it's explored very well, and it's extremely immersive. And I really thought Crip Camp was fantastic. So I'm still hoping that my octopus teacher wins, but if Crip Camp wins, I would also be pleased.
Oh.
I always, I traditionally now make a delicious mushroom lasagna for my guests on my Oscar party. So I'm looking forward to whipping that up. I'm also going to be silently applauding the forgotten performance from Paul Bettany and Uncle Frank, and of course, Ben Affleck in The Way Back. I think they both should have been nominated. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with the nominations this year. So I've got nothing but, upbeat thoughts. I'll be happy if with whatever this year.
Okay. Mushroom lasagna sounds awesome.
Lance Henriksen.
Really good.
Lance Henriksen for Falling. I wouldn't have minded seeing nom for that also. And we've already talked on this film about how robbed Delroy Lindo was for Defy Bloods. But while we're having the actual Oscar conversation, we should mention it one last time.
That's everywhere on the internet too. So that's never going to change, though. They will never change the nominees because the show is going live Sunday. And by the way, directed by Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah. See what happens.
Interesting. That actually makes me more interested to watch it, believe it or not. I will watch it a little bit more just because I want to see he says he's going to do some new and different things. And I'm curious because I do believe he is a forward-thinking guy and he won't half-ass it. So I'm curious what that'll mean.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't have gotten him if they weren't going to let him do some stuff.
Right. They're desperate. They need, I mean, it's not their fault. Award shows are just lame anyways. Nobody cares anymore. I think it's a thing of generations past. I know people still watch the Oscars, but the numbers are way down. But they're down for everything. The Grammys, all these types of award shows they're kind of a relic, and I don't care that they exist. Like, go ahead. If you love them, go to town. But they're never going to be the way they were when they were like appointment television for the mass mainstream world because of so many different options.
Well, I mean, I think it's about the Academy and the voters. You see a lot of nominees these days that never would have gotten in there, especially from some Black artists, Asian artists that were never recognized back in the day that are now starting to get attention. And I think that's going to bring in a lot of new audiences. So maybe we can breathe some life into this whole goddamn thing.
Yeah, I think that's a major problem is that people have came to see him as too politicized / rigged. Older and that kind of stuff. I mean, things ebb and flow. If it kind of falls into into like people not really listening to it for a while or watching it for a while, then it'll come back.
Ebb and flow.
I just watched you like struggle with it the moment. I knew what you were gonna do too. I know. I'm like he heard even flow, and I'm just watching the moment the words came out of my face. I'm watching your face contort as you just struggled not to be like even flow.
I waited till you finished
Mike
speaking.
Kripke's basement.
Shout out Steve Guile, Mike Kripke's basement. We used to say that all the time. It's such a terrible term. We thought Terminator 3 was bad, and then they kept going. So actually, it's not even as bad. It could get a lot worse, and it did. All right.
I like Dark Fate.
I didn't catch it.
Okay. Oscars this Sunday. Enjoy yourselves. We hope you're all there. And, you can tag our show. You can tag a Cinema 9 Pod on Twitter or on Facebook in real time talking about them as they happen. I'm sure maybe one of you guys will be online, like popping in with commentary along the way, and you can engage with. That's a good way to make the show a thing where people connect with us. So maybe you'll do that.
Go ahead, Mike. You should do that.
Well, I think you're going to be watching it.
They're live, Mike, so you can't fast forward them.
You think? See, if I start a half hour late, then there's always a way. So, anyways, Cinema 9 Pod today. We're going to be focusing on the main event shortly, which is called SubUrbia. So, capital U. I'm still not clear on the capital U, but we'll get to that.
I believe it's pronounced SubUrbia.
SubUrbia. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
you like you're so self-involved.
Yeah. SubUrbia.
SubUrbia. Okay. Is that the Missy Elliott song? I never know what she was saying in that song. Flip it up, down, and reverse it. But I will be making my choice at the end of the episode for next week's movie, which I have a lot of choices, but I haven't narrowed it down. Again, I'm starting to struggle recently with my choices. And then the week after that, we're going to have Steve Paulo on. Hey. He's going to be our next guest. And the film he has chosen is been decided upon. So we can announce it at the end of the show, or we can wait till the end of next week. But I do know what it is. And I don't want to keep you guys in the dark forever, but it's up to you. You guys let me know. In the meantime, Travis Roy. Quarantine viewing picks. Life goes on.
You guys, I've watched so many fucking movies. It's embarrassing. Stupid. I'm like back into like I've been on vacation, sort of like, but like, so like half vacation. I'm like working like a third of the amount of time that I ordinarily would work. So it's not like I could go anywhere. Not that I would anyways. I guess it's where could I go? But so I've just been watching fucking movies, and it's like early days of COVID again. So. Yeah, Eric, I watched a couple of your recommendations. I checked out Killer Legends, which was good. I liked Kropsky better, but it was a good follow up.
Good fun stories.
Yeah, and it was a logical follow up to that. And I checked out Thief, and dude, I told you shouldn't have fucking compared it to Heat.
Oh, come on!
All I did the whole time was be like, oh, this is like a rough draft of Heat.
Should have kept my fucking mouth shut.
This feels like Heat light. I mean, that's all I could think the whole time. It was just like it felt like an overtone towards Heat. Like I could see Heat coming down the line. Like this is a rough draft of a future master work. So it was good. It was good.
But he overhyped. I'm so glad you watched it. Thank you for doing that.
I mean, I'm guilty of overhyping shit all the time too. You guys are gonna watch Swallow and be like, all right, but Mike, I know you want to watch a movie where Diane Keaton, and a recent movie where Diane Keaton falls in love and cries in bed. Well, that movie's called Hampstead. You can check it out from 2019. Her and Brendan Gleeson.
Hampstead.
Oh
yeah, I watched it, dude. Am I gonna watch a Diane Keaton romantic comedy? Fuck yeah, any Diane Keaton romantic comedy, I'm gonna watch it. In fact, any Diane Keaton movie, period, I'm gonna watch it. Who am I kidding?
She should do a scary movie. That'd be cool. She did a scary movie.
That would be awesome, because she would be terrible at it though. She would imagine her acting scared. Like she would just.
This isn't real. I'm not buying this. Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, I don't think she's made for like one specific genre, and she kills it in that genre.
Does. I'm with you.
Dude, I was just flipping through Amazon, and the poster for Because I Said So, starring her and Jennifer Lopez, she's just like got like the whole deal with the glasses, and she's like got that look on her face. She's pointing at J-Lo. Jesus.
I have to admit, I have skipped that one when I say any Diane Keaton movie. And I don't know what it is about her movies that they always have the most generic fucking titles.
Yeah, like non sequiturs or something.
Yeah, they're always
Baby Boom. Baby Boom was a unique one.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, but there's often not. Anyway, so I wrapped up a couple of franchises I had been delicately working my way through over the past year. I finally watched the last Star Trek movie that I had never seen, which was Star Trek V: The Final Frontier. And as I'm watching the first hour, I'm like, everyone maligns this movie. Like, this is like, everyone gives this movie such shit. I don't get it. This is enjoyable shit, and it was that first hour and 20. And then it went off the rails really fucking bad. And everybody who's seen it knows what I'm talking about. I watched finally the last Friday the 13th movie, which was the reboot from 2009. And I'm so pissed because Steve Miner did the two best Friday the 13th movies. He did 2 and he did 3, and those are the best ones, in my opinion. And he came back, and I don't know what the fuck. Did you watch the reboot, Eric?
I liked it.
Oh, I thought it was such trash. I thought it was one of the worst, if not the worst, in the series. I thought it was just like, here's a gritty remake, like just like none of the fun, just like all the fun zapped out of it, just like torture porn. Like it looked like every other fucking Rob Zombie kind of bullshit. I don't know. I thought it was trash. I went back and watched Caravan of Courage, the Ewok Adventure. Hadn't watched that since I was 6. Yeah, it was a movie. I watched it.
Is that Wilford Brimley in that?
Yeah, he's in the second one. Okay. Which I'd seen that one so many times as a kid, I didn't need to go back. But this one I'd only seen like once. I watched Space Jam because fuck it. I'm gonna watch all the movies that are. I'm gonna watch all the movies that are culturally relevant that I've ever seen. So fuck it. I put it on a night where I didn't care what was on. Just kind of
Bill Murray's in it.
Background. Bill Murray's quite active in it, and was good. He was good. Watched a couple not so great Nick Cage movies. Drive Angry. I don't know if you guys have seen Drive Angry. So I watched that, and I watched the new Willy's Wonderland, which was okay, but was really similar to a couple other movies, like so similar to that Banana whatever movie that came out like last year that was like ridiculous. It was just the same fucking movie, just with Nick Cage in it. But Drive Angry was so bad but so funny. It's from 2011, I think. So it's like when people probably would have still seen this shit in theaters, but like I don't know if you guys know the premise, but like Nick Cage dies and escapes from a CG hell. He breaks out of CG hell, like a la Bad Out of Hell, to the point that the movie definitely uses Meatloaf, but they couldn't get the rights to that song. And like, it's just like it's so fucking bad. It's just a classic him stomping through, killing people kind of stuff. But it's like, it's one of the worst of the. But it's at the same time, it's also like so over the top. If you want, like, it might be the quintessential Nick Cage movie. But last but not least, Mike, I give you a lot of shit for rewatching movies and that kind of thing. But I rewatched at your suggestion sort of last week. I sat down and watched I Love You Man again for maybe the 4th or 5th time, but it had been a while. I fucking laughed my ass off through the whole thing like it was brand new, like I'd never seen it before. I just laughed my fucking ass off. I think that movie's so fun and so good. If you've seen it, but it's been a while, I do recommend revisiting it. And what a great premise for a movie, just about two people becoming friends. Like, that's so awesome. Like, what a great premise for a movie.
It was so I literally had friends like that were the girlfriend guy, and that movie has not been done enough. Those people have existed. I don't think maybe it is a generational thing, more recent to our generation, but they're everywhere. There should have been more than one movie about it, quite honestly. It seems like a genre that could have been done.
And they did a great job with it, because they got the girlfriend guy, and they got the guy who's got like the group of buddies, but then his group of buddies is like they're getting older and they're having kids and careers and stuff. So like it makes sense for them to like actually like need each other and like be receptive, which that's part of the moral of the story of the movie is if you want friends in your life, you got to be receptive to that.
What was the shitty Lord of the Rings ripoff you were talking about via text, Travis?
The shitty Lord of the Rings ripoff that I watched. What was that?
He watched a lot of movies. He's gonna think
black that out.
I watched so many. Are you sure it was not from last week? Or was it this week?
A few days ago, you went on Cloud9. But
oh no, it was the Ewok Adventure. It was Ewok Adventure. Yeah, because I mean, like, I don't know if you guys have watched the Ewok Adventure lately, but basically, it's like George Lucas was like, clearly, it was in a time when George Lucas was able to say to himself and convince himself, no one's even reading these Lord of the Rings books anymore. Nobody knows this stuff. Like, I could just steal all of this shit. I mean, you've got the big spider, you've got the fellowship, you've got the gifts being given. I mean, like, there's just like it's just like thing after thing after thing. It's just fucking fellowship. It's fucking Lord of the Rings. Just and Willow is in a lot of ways heavily influenced as well. But this is like even more blatant.
Willow Offgood.
Kaya, the baby.
The baby. All right.
We stole the baby.
Oh shit!
Come on, man. Yeah. All right, Eric, what have you been watching? I know you probably filled a lot of your time with movies because you're a busy guy, but you're on break yourself.
Dude, I've been horrifically ill. The whole family is sick with the flu, so I've been watching shitload of movies.
You know what that made me think of real quick? When you said that last week, it took me back to 2003, the Super Bowl nightmare where you poisoned all of us. And we were all dead in the dump. Me, Liberty, Luke, all just laying there puking nonstop. It was awful.
It was everybody from. It was like a 20-person friend group, but
it was so bad. We're sharing those fucking car bomb shooters. I knew that's what it was.
Remember, like the footage from the Heaven's Gate cult when they're all like dead wearing their Nikes? That's what like that apartment looked like the next morning. Everyone just like fucking laying around dead. You know what? I had to kick myself because I'm scrolling through Amazon Prime. Bullets Over Broadway comes up. I fucking used to love this movie. John Cusack, Diane Weiss. And then I remembered my pact to never again watch another Woody Allen movie. So I was really at the crossroads. Like, do I just say fuck it and jump in? You know, you got to separate the art from the artist. I didn't end up doing it, but this is going to be a struggle, man, because there's so many good titles, and they're all available to stream on the very network HBO that put on this lambasting documentary. So I'm a really I don't know what to do. So I might seek your counsel pretty soon because there's even more Woody Allen movies I want to rewatch. But I didn't watch it. So okay, I've never seen this movie before. I finally sat down and watched it. I could not believe what the fuck I was watching. Tango and Cash. Have you guys seen this movie?
Yeah, when it was new. Yeah, but yeah.
When's the last time you saw this?
Last time I saw it was like 86 or 88 or whatever the fuck it came out. Like,
it came out, like late 80s, 88, 89. And I think I saw it in like 96 when we made fun of it one day. That was about it. It is so fucking stupid. It is so dumb. Like 5 minutes in, they cut to like Jack Palance, like in his limo. He's like the big crime boss, and he's like bitching about like these two like famous cops that keep fucking him over. He's like, and if it's not Tango, it's Cash. He's like getting all fired up about these cops that keep like fucking him over. It's one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen in my life, and worst score in film history by far.
You need to see Jiu-Jitsu. I'm telling you, see Jiu-Jitsu.
Is that right?
Yeah, worst score.
Tango Cash is so stupid. Oh my god, it's horrible. So
I think it was highly hyped, by the way. Tango and Cash, the promos were everywhere. Very, very marketed.
Horrible in it. It sucks. It's been a long time since I watched Beverly Hills Cop, so I ended up watching that. It's fun, and I put on Beverly Hills Cop 2, the Tony Scott sequel, and I had to laugh out loud because in the very opening, this is when like Eddie Murphy is like in the pinnacle of his career. He's like God. He's like glistening. Like the first credit in Beverly Hills Cop 2 is Eddie Murphy Productions presents like Beverly Hills Cop 2. He's not even a producer on the film. Like he just like demanded this title card to be on there. And the movie is awful, but the original is still so much fun. The soundtrack's incredible. So that held up for me. I watched a documentary called Everybody Street. It's about New York street photographers. I really enjoyed it. I really dug it. It gave this well-rounded idea of this subgenre of photography that's getting more and more complicated because of digital technology and social influence. So it's kind of dying. But if you're into photography, watch Everybody's Street, Amazon Prime. So 2 big recommendations. The first one is Sasquatch. This is a 3-part like documentary on Hulu from Mark and Jay Duplass. The premise is bonkers.
Oh, I didn't know it was them behind it. I was already eyeing this. It's good, but I mean, it looked good, but I didn't realize it was them. That's intriguing me even more.
Yeah, so check it out because I enjoyed the hell out of it. It examines this Northern California urban legend that Bigfoot was responsible for the murder of these 3 like immigrant laborers. So they examined this, and this investigative journalist tries to figure out if there's any truth behind it. And meanwhile, it talks about the war on drugs because the conflict supposedly took place between like these weed growers or farmers, as the film, of course, calls them. And it's really good and just long enough so you're not getting bored. But I definitely recommend Sasquatch on Hulu.
Sounds like it would fit right into the Cropsy and Killer Legend stuff we've been talking about.
Travis, take a look at it because I think this would fit perfectly to cap that trilogy that you're into right now.
I will.
Big recommendation for me was The Hero from 2017. I've been eyeballing it forever. Sam Elliott stars. He's like this burnt out actor who gets a new lease on life when he meets Laura Prepon and they start a relationship. Nick Offerman, Kristen Ritter, great supporting roles. I loved this movie. No one talked about it a few years ago, but it's clearly the great Sam Elliott's best performance. Beautiful, quiet storytelling, tells you that there's still tremendous roles for actors that are even in their early 70s. Beautiful storytelling. Loved it.
I haven't heard of it.
Gorgeous. Very lovely. That's cool. Is that it?
I tried to watch The Golden Child because I've been on this Eddie Murphy kick. What the fuck is going on with this movie? Like, how did this get greenlit?
Is it no good? I loved it when I was a kid. I have not gone back. Oh, really? I loved it so much when I was a kid, but I couldn't eat oatmeal for a long time after it, though.
I don't know.
The blood in the oatmeal, remember that? I was like, oh, yeah. Bloody oatmeal. I'm not going to eat bloody oatmeal.
Weird.
Oh, God. Well,
what about you, Mike? Watch any movies?
Well, I'm back on the right track, you know. Travis, you called me out, so I decided to watch nothing but new movies. Nothing.
Here I'm all right. Praising you for watching, for recommending that I watch stuff that I had already seen. But right. I'm glad you dug into some new stuff for you. Let's hear it.
So all of these are new to me. All of them, I believe. I'll double check that. But I started off with The Perfect Storm. I never saw The Perfect Storm.
All right.
And, I already know the gist because of reality, history, and the Superstorm in 91. I remember talking about that in a meteorology class in 2006 at Washington Community College, a fine community college, one of the best community colleges there's ever been. But Andrea Gale.
Yeah.
Is probably more interesting than this movie. It's kind of lame. Like, they did incredible tactical stuff with all the water and really trying to make you feel like they're in a storm. It really looks great. Wolfgang Petersen is a director I've always liked. Never Ending Story fame, other films, and that's just kind of being like, I'm a little disappointed because there's so many actors I like in this movie, but it's kind of like great scenes, but blasé overall.
I think that was the relative feeling when it came out, wasn't it? I mean, I feel like it had I don't think people were that into it when it came out.
I was bored in theaters, but I watch it all the time. I think it's fun as hell. Like the first hour where they're just like fucking around on the boat, getting into fights, like landing on like dead fish. I don't know. I dig the movie.
It's amazing. They didn't use a single dead fish in that movie. It looks so real. It really does. I was impressed. All right.
I was. No dead fish.
Yeah, but overall, I don't know. They spent too much time on like the hey, look at this. John C. Reilly's got a kid and he's divorced. It's tough. They spent too much time trying to set up like the people that cared about them before they leave. Like, just go out there and let's fucking get into it. You know, maybe that would have been better.
Fast forward to the family shit, right, Mike?
Yeah, there it is.
I actually didn't. I actually started fast forwarding through the fucking storm shit. They're like, what is? Because I'm
you sat down and watched a movie called The Perfect Storm and started fast forwarding through the storm.
Said out loud.
At a certain point. Yeah, at a certain point. I mean, like, what's this side quest with the fucking, you know, these Air Force people trying to like save the fucking guy from Shawshank Redemption? I mean, what the fuck is all that?
I forgot about that. Who gives a fuck about that?
Yeah, that was just like too much. Why? So.
Save the warden.
I watched The Preacher's Wife. God, this movie is boring as fuck. So boring. So boring. This is not for me. This is for like a family around Christmas time. It's definitely, I am not the target.
So when you sat down and said, I'm going to watch movies I've never seen before, would you just like throw a dart at a fucking wall? Or, like...
Well, I had The Preacher's Wife. Yep. I had it a while ago and I never watched it. So I finally watched all these other movies. It was like one of the last ones that I watched in this coming week or this past week. I watched Paper Man. You guys ever heard of Paper Man? Jeff Daniels?
Paper Men or Man?
Man. Ryan Reynolds plays like Jeff Daniels' imaginary he's called Captain Excellent, but he's an imaginary friend to Jeff Daniels. It's got Lisa Kudrow, Emma Stone. Like, there's a lot of people in this movie. It's from 2009.
It's weird.
It wasn't bad. It was all right. It was also like a Sundance like production. Like it said at the end of the movie, done with the assistance of the Sundance Project. So I would recommend it. Jeff Daniels is the lead, and him and Lisa Kudrow and Emma Stone and Ryan Reynolds. Those are 4 actors I like watching. So
yeah,
okay. But it's like decent. It's not amazing. Won't blow your mind. I watched My Boyfriend's Back, directed by Bob Balaban. I've never seen this.
I believe it,
man.
I think it's the only movie he's directed. I think.
Yeah. God damn it. This movie is just wild. It's so like Serial Mom, like this black comedy. And everyone's in on the joke, but they're just pushing the deadpan like insanity in this movie. It's fantastic. I kind of enjoyed it. And it had the guy who looked like the guy from last week's. That's why I ended up watching it, because they had that guy who looked like one of the main characters from You're Next. The guy I said that looked like the guy who failed French in School Ties. He's the lead role in this as the guy who dies and comes back as the boyfriend. So.
Watch Bob Balaban directed another 80s horror movie called Parents. It's fucking bonkers. You might like it. Randy Quaid and like I think Mary Beth Hurt are like these fucked up parents that are like killers. You might like it if you enjoyed that one, Mike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't know. I thought that he'd only had like the 1 or 2. That's it.
Well, yeah. Well, this was his last because this was in '93. So if that was prior, he probably got his first shot. And then
he's directed a lot more than I realized.
But mainstream movies?
Well, he's directed a lot of TV episodes and a few TV movies. But yeah, as far as actual movies, not as many. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wow, that's not a lot. Bob Balaban. If you guys should know who Bob Balaban is. If you don't, if he's not coming to mind, he's the guy who he was in Seinfeld. He plays like the head of NBC.
Just imagine a white guy shows up in a movie. He's bald and small with glasses. Probably has a clipboard. You're probably thinking of Bob Balaban.
He's in a bunch of the Christopher Guest mockumentaries too.
Russell Dalrymple.
Russell Dalrymple, yeah. So that was actually fun, and it was good to see something different like that. I was surprised because I didn't know what it was. I saw When a Man Loves a Woman. I'd never seen this. Now, the premise of this,
Mike.
When a Man Loves a Woman, it sounds like a hardcore romance. I didn't know anything else about this movie.
It's about alcoholism, right?
Yeah. But it's called When a Man Loves a Woman, and they start the movie with the song of course. So it sets this tone of like,
it's a classic move. You
passion.
just grab some song title and throw it on there. People are like, oh, I like that song. We talked about that with Devil in a Blue Dress. There's no connection to the movie hardly at all, but like, it's like branding.
Yeah, it was amazing. This is actually a really well done film, and Meg Ryan deserves credit. It is about alcoholism, as Travis mentioned. It's from 1994, so you might think it'd be played. But it was pretty relevant. It was actually forward thinking. It didn't have like simple answers. I was really kind of impressed by it. So I would strongly recommend this film, especially if you're like into movies about people struggling with addiction or how they impact families. And I mean, it's not a comedy. Andy Garcia tries to make a lot of laughs because his character gets uncomfortable. That's how his character is. But it's a really well done film, and I want to give that movie credit. It deserves to be seen by more people because never really heard of it.
I'm gonna like make a really shitty movie and just call it Unchained Melody and watch the millions just flow in.
Well, now you got to update that. You got to make now for like the next generation. You got to make like a Backstreet Boys. What was that one song? I Want It That Way. Call it I Want It That Way.
I want
and
it
just
that
buy
way.
the rights to the song and just let the money flow in.
It's too bad because I've already got a movie that I've written called Burger Manifesto Part 1. But
oh shit.
Fucking Burger Manifesto. So
Burger
the point of
Manifesto. All right, sorry.
There's actually a link between some of these movies I watched. When a Man Loves a Woman.
Do tell.
The next one, The Savages. 2007 film with Laura Linney and
PSH.
Philip Seymour Hoffman. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So PSH is in When a Man Loves a Woman. He plays a very small part as an addicted guy in rehab, and he's also in Bob Balaban's movie where he plays the bozo, like high school dipshit. He plays like a country moron. He's like, "I'll kill you, man." It's so weird to see him. It's like right after Son of a Woman in '92. This is in '93.
I need to go back and watch that. I forgot that he was in that.
That's why I went back. I just started like, what? I want to make sure I've seen every PSH movie, and that's why I started doing all this. So he also in the Savages. I'd forgot about that movie. It's really well done. I'm trying to recommend The Savages. Him and Laura Linney talking about dealing with their father who has dementia, and it's actually funny at times, but it's also serious. And their banter back and forth, really well done. I admired the effort. So I think that's pretty much it for this week. I still have to watch Flawless, which is a Philip Seymour Hoffman movie I've never seen, so I'm going to watch that and I'll report on that.
Is there any
Robert De Niro?
Is there any other ones of his that you haven't seen?
I think that's pretty much it. I went through his IMDb and I've seen them all. I've seen Twister. I've seen Late Quartet, shit like that.
Yeah. In God's Pocket.
Jack Goes Boating. I never saw Jack Goes Boating.
Oh, dude, Jack
Goes Boating.
Put that at the top of your list, man. I'm dead serious. I mean, for one, you guys, I'm telling you, he directed it for one, so give him credit for that. And he co-stars in it with his best friend, John Ortiz, or one of his best friends. And you guys, it's a beautiful movie. It's a beautiful movie. I really recommend if you've not seen it to watch it. Like it's really good.
I will. I want to see it. And the thing about the Bob Balaban movie, Matthew McConaughey's in it. It's his first film. And so is Matthew Fox. He plays the fucking asshole. There's all these fresh faces in their first movies in Bob Balaban's film.
I thought you were talking about...
Okay. Which is weird. Now Jack Goes Boating. Yeah. Okay, real quickly then. I also... Finally, I never seen Days of Thunder. I watched that. Tom Cruise, Robert Duvall. It's a NASCAR movie, so I never had an interest in it. Tony Scott, though, it's not good, though. It's not great.
It's horrible.
It's pretty lame. And I watched Moonstruck. Now, this is a movie I technically seen when I was a kid, but I hadn't seen it forever. Right. And it's Nick Cage movie. Nick Cage is so young. This is the same year as Raising Arizona, 1987, and it's a great movie. I was going to wonder if it was like an exploitation of Italian culture, but I think it's actually a fairly honest, because it's about an Italian community, but some of it seems, I don't have enough experience with like up close and personal in Italian communities to know for sure, but it seems like they're trying to genuinely talk about love and this little enclave of their world. I thought it was pretty good. Norman Jewison directed, it's Olympia Dukakis.
Yeah, John Patrick Shanley's script. I wish that Cher had acted more. She really is. I mean, she won an Academy Award for that movie and earned it. I mean, that was a hell of a performance, and she really, I don't know. I mean, maybe she just doesn't like it. Maybe she doesn't like acting because I can't imagine that she wasn't offered roles.
I like mermaids.
And then lastly, real quick, I watched The Negotiator.
Oh, fuck.
I had not seen it in forever. That was one I had seen, but I had not seen it forever.
I never liked that movie.
God,
oh my God.
Is it good? I thought it was crap when it came out.
Horrible.
Well, it's directed by F. Gary Gray, who did Friday, which I didn't know that at the time. I just remember Knee-Bomb. We used to go do the Knee-Bomb jokes. That was J.T. Walsh's, one of his last movies, so it's nice to see him. Yeah. Died way too young. It's got a killer cast, and it's not bad. Paul Giamatti's sitting there, like reputable actor. Paul Giamatti's playing this bit part as like this douche criminal on the floor, and I don't know.
It's a breakthrough role for him.
That's when like Giamatti did like that same role where he's just like, hey, come on, man, let us go. What are you doing? Like 5 times in the late 90s.
Yeah,
that's really good.
When he was getting on his feet, that was there was a lot of that.
Like, Putts in danger. Get Paul Giamatti in here.
Right, and if he wasn't in danger, he was at least nervous.
That's a really good Paul Giamatti.
That reminds me, speaking of like tropes in movies, just real quick, when we were talking about I Love You, Man, do you remember that period in movies when like, remember that band Spoon, when like it seemed like there was like some sort of law was passed in California where a movie was made, like there had to be a song featuring a band, or the band Spoon had to be on the soundtrack. Do you remember this? Like, there ain't no fear for the underdog. That's why you'll never survive. Like every fucking movie for like 10 years. I'm like, why are they spoon feeding me spoon?
Hey!
Anyway, this made me think of that when I was watching the movie yesterday.
That's fantastic. I mean, Spoon was a cool band. They're still around.
But you remember that, right? Like for a hot second, it was like every fucking movie Spoon was on the soundtrack. And there's like enough with Spoon.
Sorry, Spoon. Travis means no harm. He does not.
I do. I mean it. I mean harm.
you ruined my 2000s. That I always think of a Rush when I think of I Love You, Man. But you're right. Spoon is in that movie as well. So, okay, Cinema 9 Pod, Cinema 9 Pod at protonmail.com. Send us an email. We'll talk about film. We'll talk about life. We're down to keep it real as always. But it's time for that main event. It's time for that rare moment in sport where 3 men sit down with microphones, press play, and they watch 1996's SubUrbia. This is a film directed by Richard Linklater, and it's got a cast of some young up-and-comers at the time, Giovanni Ribisi and Nicky Cat, and who else? Oh, of course, Steve Zahn.
Posey?
No. See, as soon as she showed up in
Posey.
this movie, I was like, I wanted to turn it off. I'm like, God damn it. Eric only picked this movie because Parker Posey was in it, and it bothered me. But I got over it, and I pressed play again and moved forward. So, Travis.
Yeah.
Eric said he picked this movie because we watched it a lot back in the day. So do you remember your first viewing?
I don't remember my first viewing. I don't. I know that this was one that I owned the box copy of. You know, like I watched it often. Yeah, it was definitely one that I owned and thought was really great and quoted and all, like a lot of the movies that we've done on this podcast. That's why I think this was a really good choice for the podcast, because it was something that I internalized and thought was really important at one point in my life, and yet had not revisited in 20 years. So I was really glad to sit down and watch it again. I'm stoked to talk about it.
Yeah, Eric Bogosian play originally, not even just a screenplay, but a play. And that made a lot more sense to me now when I learned that, because I didn't know that. It was a play. Eric Branstrom, you chose this movie. Is it possible that you could recall your first viewing?
Yeah, Jimmy, friend of the show, Jim showed it to me. Of course, he had a just cavalcade of box copies in his basement. We would watch this quite a bit. It was, back when I was like 18, 19, like if there were movies about like anyone older than me that was like in their 20s and they just seemed cool and worth listening to for life advice. So I would check in with this quite a bit, and actually kind of quite surprised it's an Eric Bogosian script. I'd like to probably take a look at that actual play, because it's for the 90s. Back then it seems so contemporary, and he got his start a bit earlier. He was probably in his early 40s by that time. So
he was, I checked. Yeah. He was about 40 or 41 even when he wrote it, and Linklater was mid 30s, like maybe even late 30s, like maybe even pushing mid to late 30s.
Yeah, but it's been 25 years.
He did grow up in society, though, and lived life. So, and maybe some things never changed. So maybe he just was able to.
Well, speaking of which, I think they did change the setting from New York to Austin, but that's okay. That's about it, pretty much.
Yeah, I cannot place the first time I watched this, and I'm sure it was at one of like 3 places: Travis's house, maybe Steve Giles or Jimmy's. And that's about it. That's where I saw all the movies on VHS. I can't really think. Is there another place I would have been? Maybe at home, but not for SubUrbia. I don't remember SubUrbia at home. But I remember, this was like, whoa, dude, you see, this is intense. And I don't know what I thought about it though back then. I kept spent hours this week trying to recall what was I thinking when I saw this movie? What was my connection to it at that age, at 16 years old? I don't know, but
I know it felt deep. That was the main thing I think.
Yes.
Like whatever it was I felt about this movie, to me, it just felt like a deep, kind of thoughtful kind of movie.
It wasn't a comedy. Yeah.
Well,
it had funny moments, right?
It was heavy. We're so used to Clerks and Glory Days and Mallrats, and this definitely felt so much heavier. That's all I can really remember.
Yeah, like I was thinking about like Empire Records and Can't Hardly Wait, and how they would stand against this movie. Like this movie is like that with all that veneer stripped off.
Yeah.
The movie starts right. You get like Town Without Pity, so it's all very like sultry and swaggering and like sordid. And you get all those images of just like it's all very bleak, but even though they're not like it's like development, like constant development. But like also just like pawn shops and like it looks like the American dream gone wrong.
Big box stores.
Oh, no. This movie is based on the fictional town of Burnfield, Texas, which is in part based on Woburn, Massachusetts, Eric Bogosian's hometown. So there you go.
All right, my bad.
Anybody did anybody know the score on this one? IMDb? Anybody?
I actually just looked at it on accident as we were talking.
I'll guess maybe 6.8, 6.9.
I'll guess 5.62.
It is 6.8.
Oh,
okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know everything, and Bill O'Reilly says, and as far as Rotten Tomatoes, though, this movie is on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, I'm really hoping that we're gonna get a Destin Thompson review, but I don't see that
on the show. Yeah,
like 90s alternative week. What the fuck's going on here?
Yeah, 65% from the critics. That's a little. It's still fresh technically, but that's a little lower. And a real tight score between the crowd and the critics. 68% for the audience. So there seems to be a common consensus, regardless if you're a critic or a human being. And as far as reviews, well,
hang on, critics are still human beings. Come on.
Roger Ebert was alive when this movie came out. And you know what he said?
I'm a human.
He did. Damn it! I'm a human. Damn it! Damn you! Damn you too! Their conversation, originally written by Bogosian for a stage play, is talky, but I like that. It doesn't seem too theatrical to me because these characters have absolutely nothing else to do except talk.
Okay. That is the premise of the movie. It's about people standing around in a corner talking.
This is by far the shortest amount of reviews ever. There's only 2 pages, and it's really 1.5. So not a lot of people checked in on this with reviews. I think we're lucky we got a Roger Ebert review, to be honest. Here's a negative one from EmmanuelLevy.com. This brooding comedy fails to blend the sensibilities of 2 artists, director Richard Linklater and writer Eric Bogosian, which couldn't have been more different. The only thing they share together is a concern with youth's discontent.
Okay, I don't know that much about Eric Bogosian, but I think historically it's kind of known as a bit of a misfire for Richard Linklater. I don't even think it was released on Blu-ray, and that's saying a lot. It's just kind of one of these lost Linklater films that no one talks about. And it doesn't really have, while it's talky and has the whole slackers fucking around, it doesn't seem that much like a Linklater type of movie in terms of the characters. That's why I'm surprised he didn't do kind of a rewrite or at least even a co-write on this script.
I was surprised that it came out Before Sunrise. I'm like, you know what I mean? It seemed like a kind of like a step backward for him in terms of, like Before Sunrise is like definitely a turn towards like, I'm a serious filmmaker, and this seemed more like, I make movies about kids still. You know?
It's true.
I just learned. I verified something. This is something I absolutely thought of when I watched the movie, and I was confident I was right, and it's just been verified, folks. Jimmy Takis got his old crow days from this fucking movie. He's just admitting it right here. I knew it when I saw Nicky Cat buy specifically an Old Crow. I thought, Jimmy, that's where he got it from. He had to have got it from there.
No, I thought he got it from Sean Bateman. So it must have been Sean Bateman and Nicky Cat from SubUrbia created Jim Takis's Old Crow days.
This is it right here. Jim admits it freely. Thank you, Jim, for sharing that.
Well,
that really
he uses a great, I like his term, impressionable. So anyone that was 18, 19, 20 at the time is going to get something out of this movie. I'm not sure that's the case if you're 40, but it's definitely an impressionable film.
So is Giovanni Ribisi's dong. That's very impressionable.
His whole sack.
That moment. Since we're already talking about his penis, let's go ahead and talk about it. The fact, like, as I was watching the movie, at no point in the movie was I more aware of the fact that this was based on a play than that scene. You know what I mean? Because here's a big soliloquy where the guy faces the crowd and takes his dong out because he's like in some sort of art theater. Fucking, I'm like, ugh. It just felt so like, ugh. You know, like, this seems so unnecessary. Like, there's no point for him to get naked. It was, but like, I'm certain theaters, it was all very shocking and like, a much bigger moment. But in the film, it's just kind of like, well, there's his dick, and now he's waving at it. It looks so goofy.
Yeah.
Well, there's only two people that were in the play that were in the movie: Steve Zahn and Samaya Shoaib.
That's cool. She also, this is not our first time talking about her. She was also in Requiem for a Dream.
She was. Right? Yes.
Yeah, she played the nurse.
And she is gorgeous. Just a beautiful woman. Good God.
She really is.
I was mesmerized. I'm going to admit it. I don't care if that's bad or not. She's a beautiful woman. And I love the fact that this takes place on a corner. I mean, how many different scenes are in this movie? Like settings. You got the corner. You got another parking lot. And you got a limo. I mean, there's
not much. There's like there's a scene in the garage. There's a scene in a bedroom. There's there's a few scenes that like clearly when during the stage play they would have just been like no actual set place. You just kind of like you're supposed to infer that you know where they're at because they like dragged a bed out or whatever.
So who's the most annoying character in this movie? I gotta know this.
Buff is intolerable to me, just insufferable. I cannot handle this character.
I can't believe I liked Steve Zahn after watching this movie. But Buff and Tim both are the most insufferable. Nicky Cat. And now I actually think Nicky Cat gives the best performance in this film. I think that Nicky Cat is the most committed to his character, and I believe his character the most. But he's a deplorable human being.
He has no value whatsoever. You're right. There's nothing he brings to the table.
Which we can have that in film, but like the whole, but he's just like he's like one of those classic insecure guys that has to like tear everybody around him down, and that's just like kind of it's annoying to watch and listen to. So he's annoying, but Buff is more annoying.
Interminable.
Wow.
Like you can give me like Spicoli, who's a buffoon, but he's winsome, he's fun, he's enjoyable to watch. This little asshole Buff, I fucking hated every line. And granted, I've known kids like this. I may even been somewhat like Buff, but I was never mean-spirited, just complete dick. And you don't get anything from his persona. If you're going to have this idiot, have him, maybe offer some advice that he uses to be able to be so lackadaisical as a dickhead. There's nothing.
I can't believe it. You guys, nobody's saying Jeff. I mean, Ribisi's
I hate Jeff too. Yeah, I hate him too. But we can go down. We can rank all these characters in terms of how awful they are as human beings.
I mean, his constant bitching, which is okay. There's actually some part of it that I admire and I respect, and I can actually see it myself in like this uncertainty. He's young and he doesn't know what to do, and he's confused, and nothing makes sense to him. And he fleshes it out so verbally all the time, though. That's the thing, and it's like, dude. Shut up. When he gets the trick pulled on him by Nicky Cat's character later in the movie, I'm like, yeah, that's what you get, man. You're just so blind. And he's right about him. Nicky Cat's he's very clearly right about Jeff's character.
He like that's the only thing I can think of why Tim would tell Jeff that lie would be because he wants him to show him that he's gutless. We got an echo. to show him that he's gutless. And what was the other word? I can't remember. It was gutless and something. And but like that
naive, gullible, all those things.
But yeah, gullible, that was the other one. But that lie, it serves the movie, but it doesn't serve Tim at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a total third act MacGuffin when things kind of slump, and it's like, and like, yeah, the audience could be like, well, maybe Tim did kill her. I could see that happening, but like there really doesn't. The only thing I could think of, the only thing I could think of was like, well, maybe he would tell him that because then then Jeff worries about Tim all night instead of worrying about his girlfriend fucking another guy. But the first thing he does when he shows up is just shit all over him and be like, you're a fucking fool for caring about me. So like, there's like no purpose whatsoever in the lie, which means like, it just seems like it doesn't really serve a function. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you all the way on this. I didn't actually remember if he killed her or not, even though I'd seen this movie a long time ago. I couldn't remember. I was like, oh shit, is he really dead? I feel like someone was dead, and that kind of ends up being a reality. We don't know for sure. It's ambiguous, I think, at the end.
He's breathing at the end. That's all we know.
Right. Yes.
It's one of like the three. If only I could have been in that writer's room. Not that scratch that. If only they would have made another decision. If let's say Tim does end up killing this woman, that gives you so much more to be invested in, because a lot of this movie reminds me of Saturday Night Fever. You got a bunch of kids fucking around, but there's consequences to their actions. In that particular movie, someone's life gets lost because of the way they're behaving. A movie like The Outsiders, a bunch of rascals fucking around, but somebody loses their life because of the consequences of these people living their lifestyle. It's just like a way for him to get back at him verbally. It's useless third act bullshit.
Now, I do think that there's, to go back to Buff and compare him to Tim, I do kind of like the fact that there's no redeeming quality to Buff. Like he doesn't have like a fool's wisdom. He doesn't have like he's not even just like, he's not actually like stupid but simple and sweet. Like he's actually vindictive, like you say. Tim is a destructive person in his environment, but Tim knows it. Buff is a destructive person in his environment and just bozos on through life and is rewarded for it. Like ultimately he gets laid, he gets a video deal, he gets to take another fucking ride in the limousine and never even doesn't even know what happened with BB. He just fucks her and abandons her and doesn't give a shit at all. So like, in some ways, I like that we're not made to like Buff too much, because I don't think we're really supposed to.
No, we're not. Jeff is the guy who gets the time to sit down with Phoebe. BB, what's her name? Phoebe or BB? BB.
And then he leaves her. He also leaves her.
Yeah, they do a whole drawn out part there where he like slow mo's looking back at her and they're like, "Oh fuck this, I'm gonna go do other shit." Right. When she just opened up to him, why are they? This is the big thing for me, dude. Why are these people friends? They don't even seem to know anything about each other at all, or they don't even like any. The two that are together, Jeff and what's her face? Why are they together? I don't get it.
Well, they all just met BB that night, which doesn't really make a lot of sense because she seems really close to Suze, and like Suze is part of their.
Oh, okay. Well, that one I missed.
Yeah, Suze is it's like she just shows up that night, and the only reason she's hanging out is because she wants to meet Pony.
Okay. Well,
I'm
that makes
sorry,
sense.
Man. Fuck. Suze bugs the shit out of me, and there's a special place in hell for anyone that does performance art. But she has at least she has a message, unlike all these other just.
That's her whole point. At least I stand for something.
But okay, does she? She laughs when they're all fucking making fun of the Pakistani clerk. So she's going to talk about intolerance and not toxicity. And
does she laugh? Because she also describes it as a racial incident and calls Jeff out for letting
after
it
the fact. Yeah, she kind of
virtue signaling. She chuckles.
Yes,
I watched it.
I see what he's saying and what you're saying, Travis. She's doing everything at the easiest convenience for her. Like she could have stood right in the middle of the moment when it was happening and said, "Whoa, here's my performance out. I believe in this."
Yeah. Well,
but she waited until after the fact.
She lets Pony take advantage of her, which he clearly is. And meanwhile, she's talking about how she's so against the abuse of male dominance over women. It's just a bullshit character.
Well, I mean, they're all kind of bullshit characters. They're all kind of hypocrites. The least developed one, BB, is probably the most sympathetic. But let's talk about race, because race is a huge part of this movie, and clearly I will admit, as a 16, 17-year-old watching this movie over and over again, like, I got those jokes. I heard all those jokes. I'm not sure that I don't know what to make of it now. Like the racism that's in this film. I kind of find myself feeling bad for AJ Nadeau's character, and you said her name, the woman that plays his wife, because part of me is like, man, they gotta sit here and take this bullshit, and there doesn't really seem to be a higher purpose served in the film about the racism. I don't think. I mean, you kind of get it with Nicky Katt's character Tim at the end. He says, "I'm an American. I was owed something. They took it from me." They've all got this misplaced angst and this anger about the future that's not taking place the way they thought it would, and it's misdirected at immigrants. But they probably should have leaned into that more if they were going to do that. Because instead it just ends up being this kind of recurring theme in the movie where so-and-so is going on for a while, and then we get a joke made about Pakistanis or rice or about, brown people or whatever.
I would have been perfectly happy if this movie 20 minutes in just started centering only on the store clerks and it took their narrative from there. All of these kid dipshits are Americans, but they're the real Americans. They're the hardworking people who just want to get a house, maybe a swimming pool, and they have to look at these fucking morons who take everything for granted. And it's like he says at the end, you throw it all away. You take everything for granted. Fuck you all.
Yeah, and that is what we're supposed to get from it. But I do wish it was maybe a little more heavy-handed.
But he also, when Tim gets out of jail and comes back to the corner, and by the way, the time lapse here is it's morning, but it's still dark. And he got out of jail already. He's drinking. I don't know. It kind of confused me a little bit. I'm because it started to look like morning. Oh, hey, it's dawn in the big shot, the wide helicopter shot. At any rate, Tim comes back and then he pisses off the store clerk again. And this time they have a showdown with guns. And his character, the clerk, actually stoops to his level. He pulls out the gun and he's ready to go toe to toe with him. And he gets chastised by his wife for getting on their level. And that's why I was kind of curious.
Which she brought a gun out herself in the first 10 minutes of the movie. So I never really understood what she's mad at him for.
Yeah. So that's why it's so this is just a complex mess of cluelessness. People acting on raw impulses as opposed to actually thinking about anything, even if they sound like they're critically thinking and they have a soliloquy or some deep thought analysis, or here I got it, I got a monologue that's gonna help you understand where I'm really coming from. It's never like that from actually nobody.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff in particular is inconsistent. He will literally argue hey, stay here, Suze. This place is great. Then the next argument he's having, get the fuck out of this town. This place is a shithole. He's completely inconsistent. But I think that's part of the point. There's a teenage angst thing going on here. Maybe that's why it spoke to us when it did, because they all kind of have this message they want to transmit, but they don't really have the message. They just want to transmit it. They want to feel important, in that, in having a voice, and they talk about it,
Yeah.
But they really have nothing to say. And that's part of the struggle of the movie of it's so hard to be, to peak in high school. Poor Tim. And also real quick, why does every fucking movie ever have to have some famous person in it? I think we've talked about this before, but just some recently famous person or America's obsession with celebrity means that if there's an ensemble movie to make something feel real, we got to throw some famous person into the mix, as if any of us fucking know famous people.
Absolutely. Jim is verifying what Eric kind of said about performance art. Jim says the way Suze chooses to behave is why Middle America looks at the art community as a bunch of dumb, arrogant bullshit.
Who's got the dumbest hair in this movie? Speaking of Suze. Tim's hair.
Buff?
Buff's pretty bad. Suze is an obvious contender, but Tim and Buff are up there. And let's not let Pony off the hook.
Buff, it reminded me of so many people at Heartland, man.
Really?
Like, he had the sneakers on, and he had the baggy pants, and that hair. It's somewhat dyed a little bit, like a fading greenish type. But this guy's not in high school. These people are like 22, right? 23.
Well,
yeah, I mean, in real life.
Yeah, no kidding. That I think is one of the major maybe points. I won't give this movie credit and think that it has much of a point, but I see it as we talk about them just bitching constantly about their own futility and alienation. And Jeff says himself, my duty as a human being is to be pissed off. When you're 20, 21, you own that as like a rite of passage, and you kind of, at least if you're like me and you had it in like an inferiority complex, you like that about yourself. So it almost seems like some of these people just enjoy being dickheads. So who the fuck are we to argue?
I do really like to go back to Buff and his introduction real quick. I mean, and how he reminds me of people from high school. I mean, not only does he have that fucking hair, the way that he's introduced, like trying to leech weed off somebody while popping a zit working in a pizza parlor.
That's fake stories about sexual conquest.
Yeah, that's all super believable. And on one hand, this movie's so fucking dated. It's like they just really lean into their times with the KMFDM and that kind of stuff. They really, really fucking lean
Some
into
Pennywise in there in the text of the beginning.
The Girls Against Boys and
Ministry.
They really, but also the movie, and this goes to like Bogosian, like writing it at a 40-year-old. It's pretty timeless. I mean, like this group of kids hanging out in this corner doing this shit. Cigarettes might not be $2.50, you know what I mean? But like, they might not have a boom box. They're gonna have something else. But I mean, like this is kind of a timeless story. In a
Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah.
Reminds me a little bit of American Graffiti, which I enjoy more exponentially, because in that movie they're so optimistic about the possibilities of life and adulthood. But when you look at kids in the 90s, I mean, they're great. What were our problems in the 90s that were like we were trying to fight for? I mean, what was our like counterculture big deal? Like a fucking band breaking up? Like, why are they so pissed off? It's just so fucking jaded. It's not even funny.
Jaded. Yeah, well, we're talking about SubUrbia. It's a movie from 1996. Does it hold up? We're getting close. We're going to find out soon. Maybe it never did. Maybe it always has. You'll find out shortly. The whole pony bit. What if the whole pony bit was not in this movie at all? Couldn't they have done this movie without Pony showing up?
I like Pony.
Up this.
I like Pony, and I actually like the guy playing him that I've never seen before or since. I dig that it could be real easy to just write it as this dick who comes to town as an asshole to everyone, but aside from the fact that he doesn't like comp all of his best friends to the show, he's just like, hey, did you guys miss it? Oh, fuck you. He seems pretty chill and cool and willing to, he doesn't come off as this big prick to me.
So he's not a big prick, but he's totally condescending. I mean, he's like talking to him about like, songwriting and stuff. You know how it goes. Are you still living at your mom's? Like, yes! I mean, like he says like these underhanded kind of comments. And like at one point he's like walking towards the guitar, like, oh, I couldn't possibly play it. And then like, oh, okay. Like he's very much eating it up. And like he goes so far as to admit that like part of the reason he's in town is because he's had a thing for Suze for years, and now he's in a position where he can woo her and impress her, and he wants to take advantage of that and offer her something, which is like, hey, you can do my album cover, which is like, wow, here's a great opportunity. But he's not offering it out of like a place of like, hey, I want to give this talented friend of mine a shot. Like, no, he's trying to fuck her.
It's all hateable, very hateable.
Right. So I don't like, he's not as bad as he could be, but he also sucks. Everybody sucks except for the Pakistani couple and BB, in my opinion.
Erica's not so bad.
I think Erica sucks. Erica sucks. I mean, she's got the worst taste in men out of any character in film history. Like Tim comes up and starts negging her, and immediately she's like, ooh, I like being negged. Let me show the audience how much the negging works.
That was so lame and cliche. Like, Tim calls out everything about her life except the boo job. You got that wrong, but he nails it all. I hate that movie.
It was a poor. It was like, I hated that too. And then what in blue fuck would this woman see in Buff? Nothing.
In Buff,
nothing. It's completely unbelievable.
That's why the MacGuffin story and everything at that third act point is so. It just destroys everything. It makes it all convoluted and stupid and like all pointless. If there was actually any investment into like how these characters felt and trying to see their way through all of this chaos. It's all gone after that because like, oh, hey, we're trying to fool you. It's like they're trying to turn this into a caper 90s style. Everything has to be a twisted caper. Even this movie. Fuck that. Why?
Yeah. And ultimately, like, you know, BB's like, you know, they leave BB alone and BB ends up overdose. I think she got pills and alcohol. So I think she has like a mixed thing that goes on there. And so like they're trying to tell us something about like our self-involvement is going to lead to the people in our lives being left on the wayside or something. But like, again, like the messaging here is so all over the place that I get that there's angst. There's some bitter people.
Sure.
And they don't know where to put these feelings. And I can understand why that resonated with me as a teenager.
It reminds me of Donnie Quiz Kid Smith from Magnolia. I have so much love to give. I just don't know where to put
it. Yeah. I mean, Roger Ebert, God bless, he calls it a talky script. Yeah, it's talky, but
it's a play.
These people have nothing to say, in my opinion. Take BB. I mean, granted, I said I'd watch a movie just about these clerks having to deal with these fucking like alley cats living around them nonstop. But tell it from BB's point of view. At least she has an arc worth investing in.
You know, I've worked at a job, like I worked in Philly at a beer store for several years, and like I didn't even own it the way that the AJ Naidoo's character owns this place. The people that like perch up outside your store and just spend all fucking day there getting loaded and then stumbling in and like harassing other customers and like wanting to use a bathroom and being rude. Like there's a fucking reason AJ Naidoo hates these people. I hated those people. I didn't even like own my business. It was just having to be around these same loser fucks.
So this is a thing because I'm watching. I'm like, I didn't do this. I don't really know anyone who just fucking hung around.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's definitely a thing.
Loser fuck alcoholics. I'm not saying that, you know, not all alcoholics are loser fucks, but I mean like the kind of person that's going to hang out next to a liquor store all day, probably sucks.
Yeah, hanging on the corner, it's a thing. It's always been a thing.
Always been a thing.
The corner 9 times out of 10 involves booze or some substance of some type.
And it's not going to involve like the coolest people.
It is not going to involve these people are actually way too. It's only because they're young that it seems like they might be cool, but we all know they're not cool at all because we watched the movie.
Tim is like, out of all of them, like Tim is already done. Like his whole life is fucking over. Like that guy is like, you know, he's going to jail for the rest of. He's in and out of jail for the rest of his life. You know, he probably kills someone eventually, or beats someone up and goes to prison. You know what I mean? Like like it's just like fucking. That's that guy's whole rest of his life. And Jeff is in this place where it's like, do I want this too? I don't know.
That's going to go on for a long time. Sorry, Jeff. Buzzkill in your 20s. So all these people are double their age now. They're all grown up. I'd like to see, would you be interested in a movie where all of these characters are their current ages in 2021? Would you like to see a film about that?
No.
Where are all these people now? These characters themselves? No, nobody's interested. Okay.
I don't want to see that.
All right. Anything else? It's time to
Sonic Youth. I never
Sonic
noticed
cool.
all these years. I somehow never noticed that they were doing the score. That's pretty cool.
Youth.
They're in a few Linklaters, I believe. I think they have a relationship. But I could.
So I did end up watching. I'd never seen Slacker. I've always heard about it. It's the one that he, got some money together and got into Sundance. Blah blah blah. I fucking watched it today. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I hated it. I turned it off. It's just I can't deal with these plotless strolls through mundanity. It's just there's nothing there.
All right. Well,
I've never seen it.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I've seen it, and I think maybe in the time of place in the early 90s Austin and the way filmmaking was getting more independent in this time in the 90s, I think it was a time and place thing. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what about this movie? I think it's time to make a decision. We got good music. It's got some decent music. It does put us in the 90s, which is cool. I'll give this full marks. It does put us in a time and place.
Well,
and that's what movies are awesome. I always say this.
Yeah, but Michael, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you hinted on something I wanted to get at. This does have a fucking great soundtrack from the 90s, okay? But this is the only like 90s movie that doesn't make me nostalgic for the 90s. In fact, I kind of said out loud to myself, fuck, maybe the 90s sucked just because of all of this angst and this bullshit.
Well, I think you might as well go into it then. It sounds like you're on your way to a final conclusion.
Well, if we're going there, I'll take a shot at it. I mean, I can admire that it tried to do something different. Okay. The problem with this film is we've just got a bunch of character. They just loaf around like they're exercising outside of like prison cells. They don't have anything interesting to say that is going to stick with you, resonate with you, comment on. They're not saying anything about their status other than that they're pissed off. That may be a comment on the time, but you should at least be able to tell me something insightful about it. They don't. It's fucking nonsense. There's so many ways that they could improve upon this, and they don't. There's no consequences. The script it's just not that funny. It's a bunch of people fucking around. Characters should not just like mirror you. They should offer an opportunity to give you some kind of insight, offer you some kind of experience that I can learn from. It's just fucking stupid joke. Total bullshit. Doesn't hold up. Hated it.
Wow. Yes, all sir. Right. Well, you go, Travis. Let's see what you have to say.
So, I just loved the fuck out of this movie. Once Upon a Time, I thought it was so good. And as I said before, I can understand what I got out of it. Like, as an angsty, emotional teenager that like had something to say but didn't know how to say it or what it was that I wanted to say. Like, I think that there's reasons why this movie spoke to me. I don't understand. I can't imagine, like, I'm about to be 41, so I'm about the age that Bogosian was when he wrote this. I can't imagine sitting down to write something like this. I just can't imagine like being in, like, here's my note. Bitter fucking people. This movie is masturbation. A grown-up wrote this? That's my notes.
Yeah.
So I feel bad. Like, I know that people someone tuning into the show, maybe like I never watched, listened to us before, and like, oh, I love SubUrbia. Let's listen to these guys talk about SubUrbia. They're gonna shit all over SubUrbia for hours. But like honestly, like this movie does not hold up. I was like, it doesn't hold up at all. Like it's bad. It's not just like doesn't hold up. Like I was grateful when it was over. It's a pretty bad movie.
Well, there you have it, folks.
Yeah. Michael? This is a movie.
What Bill O'Reilly says.
Okay.
I don't know. This movie is a tough one, man. Because it hold up or not. The question of hold up is a ongoing debate. It evolves every week, and I get confused.
Just for you. We're fine on it. We've been fine on it.
I never can quite capture its essence. It's always just beyond me. And this film has good performances. The performances are solid. They make you hate them at times, and that's good acting. I will give them credit for that. That is them. Well done. And the writing, to a certain extent, it makes me think about how much I can't stand them. It also makes me think about how this kind of shit is going to go on forever and ever. These corners, these people, you're like you said, things are changing, technology. Maybe there is more time spent at home now. Maybe this really is the end of a certain area. Maybe it isn't going to be timeless in a certain point, but it still is to me. People don't have enough time because they have so much freedom at a young age where they can just do what they want when they want, so they can also expound upon whatever comes to their mind. And there's that know-it-all righteousness that comes with being somebody in your late teens and early 20s, which is just so exhausting to anybody who's already been through it, at least to me. For sure, it's like, good God.
Nailed it.
And I'll make fun of myself is the same way. If I was like that and I was awful, God, I do not want to hang out with me at 19, 20 years old at all. Sounds like a horrible time. So kudos to the movie for doing that, but I think some of these things still stand, though. Like the racism, this stuff's still out there. It's not like it went away or not. And nobody said that it did. I know that. Nobody said that. So the fact that people would make fun of somebody for the color of their skin and working a certain job. Sure, it's a cliche that, somebody with brown skin is working at a 7-Eleven or convenience store. That seems like a very fucking dated, like, bullshit. Apu was, they got rid of all that stuff. That's no longer relevant. So that is so bogus and lame. But at the same time, the way people feel about non-whites still very relevant. And I could see these people not even realizing the extent of their actions because they're so clueless. So that kind of sticks with me. I think this movie holds up. I think it holds up, even though I don't really like it. I do. I think it holds up.
Dumbest thing you've ever said.
I do. I think it holds up because these awful things exist, and people are going to be annoying for centuries and centuries ahead. And unfortunately, that holds up. That's how I see it. I don't want to watch this movie, though. I do not want to watch this movie again. No interest in it.
What a great endorsement. I don't like it. It holds up. You should definitely not watch. Yeah. Wait, but that's the thing. Like, doesn't like just real quick before we move on from the does it hold up segment. Aren't we basically, like, as I understand the segment, we're looking at movies that we thought were good and are saying, are they still good and worth revisiting? Does it hold up? Does it do what it was trying to do? And is it worth revisiting?
Yeah. And we've also looked at a lot like Cloud Atlas that I regret to this day saying holds up, that we've never seen, but is it still relevant if as a new viewer here in 2021?
Yeah, I don't think, if you hadn't seen it, like, is it good?
Yeah. I think the first premise you said, I don't know if it already did hold up or not. I don't know if that's true. If that's how I look at it, we're trying to find out, does it hold up in the current time and place? That's how I see it. So,
all right, well, because
like,
you stick to your guns.
Stick to your guns. You bring up good points, Michael. I mean,
I don't think we always pick up movies that we liked necessarily. I think I picked some movies I was like just unsure of if they still hold up or not, regardless of how I felt about them.
That's true.
I do that.
But at one point, you did think they were good as well. It was like, that's
right. Yeah, I think this movie had something to say back in the day. I definitely did. No argument here.
I'll give you this. At least they were saying it to each other and had interpersonal relationships. This comes out nowadays. It's just all like on Instagram and Twitter. I mean, no one's talking to each other like this, like we used to back in the day.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
One last thing about Jeff and his racism. I like it when he's called out about the racial incident and how he's like, "Oh no, I would have stopped it. I would have done something." That kind of like glib liberal kind of like, well, I wouldn't. I'd stop it. There is some realism to the film in how it depicts racism that's uncomfortable. Still doesn't make it for a great watch, but I'm gonna have to. A friend of the show, Chris Deary, just chimed in with a series of question marks. I'm assuming because he's wondering what the fuck does it hold up mean? That's a valid question, Chris.
I've had movies that I thought that I have said held up on this show that I maybe later regretted. I have, so I might come to regret this one, and that's part of the human experience. We're not robots, right, Travis? We are human beings with emotions and feelings and biases and anything's in play. But regardless, you two shut it down, so the movie doesn't hold up overall. That's all I care about. So, right?
So if you had gone before me, you would have said it didn't hold up, in the hopes that maybe I would have said it did hold up.
I don't know.
You've done it before.
Yeah,
it's possible.
He's done it before. Yeah, it's
possible.
We all know it's possible.
I've done it.
Yes, it's possible. We've all been there. All right, there it is. Well, this is not it's not an exact science, I'll tell you that. It's the Cinema 9 podcast. We're a living human experiment, and every week we're here to try to make the show a little more entertaining and fun, and hopefully you guys learn something, and hopefully we provide movies that you like and are not awful like this movie. So, all right.
Again, I feel really bad for him. Yeah, so awful it holds up.
Oh man, nothing makes sense anymore. But we got to get to it. It's time for me to pick next week's movie, I suppose. I've had my list of movies.
Hem and haw for a bit.
Vamp. Yeah.
Make some words. Sing a song. Yell some quote that comes to your mind that is based on nothing that we're talking about.
I don't know what direction to go after this movie. Like, I feel like this movie kind of was not as fun watch and not as fun of a watch. So should I go like comedy now? Like, hey, let's have some fun again, or should we just get more serious? Or
well, I already know it's either going to be a Reese Witherspoon film or an Aaron Sorkin picture, Mike. I mean,
oh come on,
out with it.
There's more than that. I'm thinking
more than this.
No, more than this. Good
Very
song.
songy episode that we have going on here.
You know, now that you're talking about the whole does it hold up and what does it mean? Now I'm just like, what if I choose a movie that
not myself.
I like? Yeah,
a fucking year in, and you're like, what does this show mean?
What is happening? What are we doing
with this?
Yeah, it's God's love, man. It's God's love. Man. Some of these seem kind of trite, though. I feel like I have this list. I'm looking, and like there's like 8 movies here, but they're all kind of like
expected, right?
Yeah, some of them might be like,
or just get one off the list that you know we're gonna get eventually. You know, we got to do it at some point.
True or false? We've not done a Tom Hanks movie, have we?
Cloud Atlas.
Cloud Atlas is the only one.
Yeah, we did.
He was in it like 20 roles, so I think that covers us for him for a while.
Some reason he's so like you can't even tell he's in the movie sometimes. So I guess I forgot about that. All right, I won't do that one. How about because I was thinking of that movie. Instead, let's try a movie from 2002, early 2000s.
Right.
Take it back to the aughts, and it's a movie I always liked. I haven't seen it in a while, but I love this film, and it's called The Good Girl. 2002's The Good Girl, starring Jennifer Aniston
and Jake
Gyllenhaal, John C. Reilly, Tim Blake Nelson, Zooey Deschanel's in it. So I was a big fan of this movie.
A bit of an indie darling when it came out.
Yeah, it was a big change for Jennifer Aniston because she had to like do a Texas accent. Yeah, we're going back to Texas, unfortunately. I'm sorry that we're doing back-to-back. I just realized we're doing back-to-back Texas now. Fuck! Oh, well. Yeah, 2002 is Good Girl, but directed by Miguel Arteta. So
never seen it.
Great. Cool.
All right.
Well, then I feel good about this choice now.
The Good Girl.
The Good Girl.
Yeah, I don't know where it is. Hopefully it's not a problem to find it. So, but it's got a lot of mainstream people in it, so it's not like some no-name shit. All right, next week, The Good Girl. We'll do it live. Does it hold up? What does that mean? Who cares? Everything's superfluous, and one day we will all be dead in the ground or in the ocean. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Am I wrong?
So much optimism.
We really want to thank you for coming along for this journey on the Cinema 9 podcast. We've had a really good time. We hope you've had a good time. Thank you for coming out, everybody. We'll talk Richard Linklater some other time. We'll talk about Holding Up Again some other time. We'll talk about 90s music some other time. We'll talk about death. Probably pretty frequently on this show because Mike's a host.
Hey!
Talk about a movie we hate for an hour.
All right, thanks for joining us. cinema9pod@protonmail.com. Send us an email. Give us a comment. Give us feedback. What does it mean? Does it hold up? Does it bother you? Are you guys comfortable with how we feel about it? Let us know. I'm ready for criticisms and constructive suggestions. That's it. We'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.